mainly, a lot of that is because people during that time can have really heavy periods, that kind of thing. We also see it in the elderly and people who have chronic conditions. And all of those that don't let the body actually create more hemoglobin are things going to be at risk for that. So that's the person who might have GI bleeding, GI losses from using NSAIDs for arthritis, those types of things. Patients who have anemia of chronic disease that we see in patients who have heart failure. Also you see it in patients who are diabetic because the kidneys themselves don't perfuse as well. So the kidneys don't produce erythropoietin. So that's a kind of double-edged sword when you're dealing with patients who have chronic diseases. But iron deficiency anemia truly is the most common type of anemia that we have. So then on question 2 says, select all the patients who are most at risk for iron deficiency anemia. So you have a 55-year-old male who reports taking ferrous sulfate regularly, a 25-year-old female who has recently diagnosed with celiac disease, a 35-year-old female who is 36 weeks pregnant that reports craving ice, and a 67-year-old female with a hemoglobin level of 42. So these are ones that you have, and when you think about answering or deciphering questions this way, you're looking at people who actually think about who would be at risk. It's asking positive things. So you look at the different conditions or things that might tell you a person might have iron deficiency anemia. So who are those you're going to get rid of right away? Ferrous sulfate, because he's already taken iron supplements. The thing about it is he may be on them because he had iron deficiency anemia kind of thing. But he's not at risk for developing now because he has some supplementation going. Who else are you going to get rid of in that list? D, because what does that tell you? What does that value tell you? That's within normal limits. So for a person to actually have iron deficiency anemia when their hemoglobin is in that right area is not going to be a common thing. It really wouldn't be happening because you wouldn't actually see that in practice. If you did, it'd be some kind of crazy thing nobody sees all the time. You have to send them to a hematologist for that. But those are things when you're looking at your questions, get rid of those things that don't make sense, because that'll help you get rid of at least 2 of them, because there's always 2 that's jacked up, right? And there's always 2 that are close to what you're looking for in that patient. So then think about those things that put them at risk. Celiac disease. Now I don't know a whole lot about celiac disease, but I know it's the gut. So it's some kind of dietary thing. So always think about, because we need our GI tract to actually absorb nutrients and that kind of thing, that's always puts you at risk when you're asking about anemias. So any type of GI disease, whether it be celiac, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, person who had GI surgeries, those are all going to be people at risk for having anemias. Then our next person in there was a pregnant woman. And this, we talked about women of childbearing age. And you pretty much, anybody in here who's been pregnant knows that you get that multivitamin with iron when you get ready to have a baby. Folic acid is the other thing you want to make sure you take when you're pregnant. Okay. Now, number 3 is the patient is a history of gastric bypass surgery 6 months ago, reports feeling fatigue and having food cravings for clay and dirt. On assessment, you know that the patient has nail changes that look spoon-shaped. This spoon-shaped appearance of nails is called, and you have Terry's nails, and you know I can't see all these little crazy words up there. So I'm just, whatever. It's an O, a K, and an L. Does anybody know which one of those it is? It actually is in your text. In case you might have a look. It is something that we look at as far as to help you diagnose what type of things you see in patients. Sometimes we also look to see whether or not they have a lot of ridging in their nails. That also tells you about nutritional deficiencies. Whether you can see halos in their nails, because at the nail bed it looks kind of really white there. Sometimes you'll see that as well. You're also looking at their blanching of the nail bed, so that lets you know that they have good peripheral or good circulation. So, The answer is C. You know I can't say it, so it's the K word. Alright. So that's spoon-shaped nails. I mean, for somebody to have that, though, they have to have iron deficiency anemia for a while, because if you think about how long it takes your nails to grow out, even if you take supplementation like biotin or something like that to help your nails, it still takes a while for that to happen. So that's the person who's had iron deficiency for quite some time. The next question talks about what do you look at when you're looking at lab values for that patient. So the physician orders a patient with suspected iron deficiency anemia a blood smear test to assess the quality of red blood cells. How would the red blood cell appear if the patient had iron deficiency anemia? Now this gets into when you look at lab values on your lab reports on patients, or sometimes when you're looking at progress notes and the patient says that patient has a microcytic hypochromic anemia, or they have a macrocytic hyperchromic anemia. All they're talking about is what those cells look like under a microscope. So that's why when you do a CBC, you're going to get lab values that say something is within something. So when you're looking at hemoglobins in general, because they vary a little bit for men and women, 12 to 14 is okay on both men and women's side. They're both, I mean, it's a little low for a man, but the thing is, I'm not worried about you if I got a hemoglobin of 12 to 14. Hematocrit is 35 to 45. So when you got people within that range, you're not really worried about what's going on with that. Okay. Now, when they figure out this part about here, when they're talking about microcytic versus macrocytic, that kind of thing, you know all those lab values, because everybody always tells you just look at the H&H, right? That's one of the things you look at all the time. They tell you to look at the platelets for the patient, they tell you to look at WBCs. The other stuff you don't even look at unless the patient has a problem. To get the diagnosis for a patient who has an anemia, you'll get the lab results that you know that MCH, MCD, MCHC, this is where that comes from. All they're telling you if the cell is normal size, so that's a normal chromic anemia, meaning the cell is the right size. If it's a hypochromic anemia, meaning the value is low, that means that's going to be a patient who has a small cell. So those are things that they're talking about different stuff that they're looking at with that. So they're looking at the color, the size of the cell, and how much percentage of volume that it has a hemoglobin in when you're looking at MCH, MCD, MCHC. That's the stuff that comes out when you look at a long CBC report. That's the part that they call the differential. Because when you get complete blood count, that's what they're looking at, is just WBCs, platelets, and hemoglobin. But the differential piece of that is talking about, it breaks down the cells of the RBCs to give you that MCHC, MCD, all that kind of stuff. But then when it also does that for WBCs, so if the person has an infection, it tells you whether they have basophils, eosinophils, all that kind of stuff. So differential kind of helps you figure out where you're going with that. So iron deficiency anemia is a small cell anemia. Okay, so it's a microcytic anemia. So it's one of those, you know, because we have the ones that you have for class, you have two macrocytic ones, that was B12, and that's going to be pernicious anemia. But iron deficiency is a small cell anemia. The other type of anemia that you get later when you talk about MP4, but it's really not really an anemia in and of itself. You're talking about acute blood loss in the patient. The cell types don't change. It's just the hemoglobin is low because they've lost volume. So when you're looking at MCH, MCD, those things will be normal. What you're going to see is just actually an H&H drop. When you got a person that has a GI bleed, a person has a wound, that kind of thing, because they're just bleeding out. So it's a different thing. It's not the pathology. They're just lost volume. But when you're talking about these patients, it's something that's happening with the cell itself. Okay, so this is something that takes time because RBCs live for 120 days. So that's why we do hemoglobin A1C on people when they want to tell you that, oh, my blood sugar's fine. No, it's not. It's because you can see how the glucose is sticking to the cell for an average of 120 days. Platelets live about a week. So that's the reason why when a patient has a platelet disorder, if you can get rid of why it happens, it usually resolves itself within a week. When you're talking about WBCs, they're the weird ones because they live all different times. Some things live for a day, some things live for hours, some things live for a couple of days. So those are things that have different varying times based on what's happening for your patient. Because eosinophils are something that go and they come up quickly because that's an allergic reaction. So normally you don't have a person that has a problem with that unless they have some type of allergen antibody reaction. But then if they have some type of crazy stuff going on, then they have an issue. So basically when you're talking about iron deficiency anemia, you're talking about a cell that's small. Do you think it's the right color or it's going to be pale? Pale. It's going to be pale. So that's hypochromic. Okay, so chroma, if you think about old-fashioned, I shouldn't say old-fashioned, but I'm old. And if you look at real old commercials about NBC when the peacock comes out, they used to talk about that as a chromograph picture. Think about chromes as pictures. That's how you think about it. So chromograph tells you the color. So that's when they're talking about hypochromic or hyperchromic. Hyper is going to be very red when they look at it. Hypochromic is going to be pale. And that's what they look like when they're looking at them under the microscope. Microcytic is going to be small cell. Macrocytic is going to be big. So that's what they're looking at to diagnose what type of anemia a person has. So that's what they're writing about when doctors actually write that stuff in your progress notes. Patient has a microcytic hypochromic anemia kind of thing. So that's what you're looking for when you talk about a patient who has iron deficiency. So which one are we getting? D. Very good. All right, so now we have a patient who's going to be taking iron. So you know this always has to do with patient education. So you're providing education to the patient about how to take their prescribed iron supplement. Which statement by the patient requires you to re-educate the patient on how to take this supplement? So in asking that question, what are they telling you? The patient is telling you something what? Wrong. Okay, so he's jacked up now. So we got to do some re-education. So your choices are that I will take this medication on an empty stomach. I will avoid taking the medication with orange juice. I will wait and take my calcium supplements 2 hours after I take my iron supplements. This medication can cause constipation, so I will drink plenty of fluids and take a stool softener as needed. I'm going all over the place. What do you think? It does cause constipation, right? Because that's what usually the complaint that people tell you about taking iron tablets. They say, I'm not taking this anymore. What is wrong with you? Well, yeah, because and the thing about those, when you talk about stool softeners, those are things that you really want the patient only to take as needed, not just because you take it every day. You want them to increase their fluids, increase their fibers, that kind of thing first.
So you need orange juice, right?
Orange juice actually helps you absorb it better because vitamin C is something that actually helps you as far as the absorption of iron. Okay. The acidic environment actually helps you absorb iron better. So actually A is okay. Okay, because truly if you want the patient, and this is the thing about iron supplementation, we're talking about iron deficiency anemia. Most patients think they have to take it for the rest of their life, but you really don't. Once you get their hemoglobin normal, meaning that the hemoglobin is between 30, hemoglobin is, or I say hematocrit, between 35 and 45, you only need to treat the patient for about 3 months after the fact. So patients won't have to take iron forever. The thing is, you got to get them compliant for a period of time. And that's the thing, is once they start having constipation and they can't go to the bathroom, they're looking at you sideways. I'm not taking this anymore, it's killing me. You know, I have to take enemas to do this. And if you got elderly people, they always concentrating on it. If it's not at 5:05 on every day, they have a problem. So those are the kind of things you have to make sure patients understand. But in truth, acid environment is better, but we all know that most people who take iron on an empty stomach complain. Okay, even though that's truly the best time to take it, you should take it early morning on an empty stomach with a glass of orange juice. That gives you the best absorption of iron. But patients not trying to hear that because it usually makes their stomach hurt. Okay. What you really have to make sure they do is don't take it with milk because milk binds to it. So it's just like you're not taking the iron tablet. So when you have that person who comes back to you 3 months later and you're doing their lab work, and they're asking you, how come my numbers aren't better anymore? The first thing you need to ask them is, when are you taking your medication, and what are you taking it with? If you have cereal every day, that's the problem. Okay, so patient education will always be key. So that calcium supplement is our issue, because that's going to help bind to it. 2 hours is not enough time. It has to be at least 4 hours. That's the thing. So out of all those other things, they're helpful to the patient, but that calcium is not far enough away for the patient to actually be okay with that. 2 hours is just not enough time. Mainly because what are iron tablets usually? If you think about them, what do they look like? They're green or red or that kind of thing. But what's on the outside? It's enteric coating. So that's not enough time for that to go down and start to be digested, and you're taking a supplement that's going to bind to it. So that's the issue. It's not that calcium supplements, you can't give them to a patient. You just have to separate them by more time.
The question asked about which statement by the patient requires you to re-educate. So which answer is wrong? So that would only be B, because you're supposed to take it with orange juice. So the other three statements should be correct, wouldn't it?
Well, that's true.
But that's still not enough time for calcium. I'm sorry. That's actually has two things going on. Although it's not up there listed that way. Because calcium should actually be separated by more than 2 hours. And you can, it's actually best to take it with orange juice.
So how long do you suggest?
At least 4 hours.
At least 4.
Yeah. That's part of the reason why you tell them to take it really early in the morning, so they can actually do those after lunch. Okay, you have a patient who is admitted with iron deficiency anemia who has been receiving iron supplementation. The patient voices concerns that their stool is dark black. As a nurse, you would notify the doctor, hold the next dose of iron, reassure the patient that this is a normal side effect of iron supplementation, or none of these options are correct.
What was the answer to the prior two?
This actually has two things that are there, B and C.
So if we came across that, you would take
I wouldn't do that. That's not what you would do that for, because this actually should, the calcium piece should be farther away, and then orange juice is actually the best thing to take.
I thought it was C.
So which one of those things are we going to tell the person about their dark stools? Now that's a normal thing. And part of the reason that, you have to tell patients that, because they'll think they're bleeding. Okay, if you do have a patient that does have GI bleeding, remember that dark stool tells you it's up higher in the GI tract. If it's lower down in the GI tract, it's bright red, or closer to the red color. The longer it's in the GI system, the darker it's going to be. But patients need to understand that that's just part of life when you're taking iron supplementation, that you don't have dark stool. Dark stool and you're constipated. And they do have types that are supposed to be non-constipating. I haven't seen it work yet. Same thing with niacin. They tell you there's non-flushing types, and everybody still tells you they flush. It's just less than the other types. So then we have a question. You are providing diet teaching to a patient with low iron levels. Which foods would you encourage the patient to eat regularly? So you have herbal tea, apples, water, and watermelon. Sweet potatoes, artichokes, and packaged meats, egg yolks, beef, and legumes, which are beans, and chocolate, cornbread, and cabbage. Chocolate is food group, I think. Let's see, because C actually has the most iron content of the things that are up there. Beans are high source. Red meat, of course, is one of those things we have to tell people about. You even tell people to eat liver. Most people don't like liver. They look at you crazy. But if you know how to cook it, it's all right. A little piece is okay. Because my mom used to cook like big. I'm like, it's just huge. You can't deal with that. It's just wrong. So different. The other things that they don't really give you a whole lot as far as when you talk about iron. They will help you increase your fluid intake, which you might want to do because you're taking iron. For somebody to drink herbal teas and watermelon, those things would be helpful as far as increasing your water intake. So therefore, you have less issues with constipations, but otherwise that's not going to help you very much. True or false, the body uses hemoglobin to make iron. Because it's the other way around. as far as what's going on. True or false, high levels of iron lead to the body producing fewer RBCs. Said high levels of iron lead to the body producing fewer RBCs. That means a person with a high iron level, they produce less RBCs.
They produce more because they have more hemoglobin.
Right. So that's actually a wrong answer because that's one of those things that's false. The higher your iron level, you produce RBCs. They may be abnormal sometimes depending on what's going on. The body is going to produce more than adequate amounts because it's one of the precursors for you actually building RBC. And the last one is early signs and symptoms of iron deficiency and anemia are vague. That one's true. Mainly because nobody really knows. Most of the time you just say, I feel tired. So nobody's gonna, you just think, what do you normally feel when you feel tired? Or you say that you, oh my God, I don't feel like doing anything. What do you go home and do? You sleep, you try to rest. You know y'all don't have a life at home. You gotta do stuff. On top of this, you go home and you're more tired, right? But never in your mind you think, I really need to go to the doctor and get lab work. Right? Until you almost fall out. There are some people that do that. I actually have a friend, her husband was like that when he went to, he is an independent contractor, does work in homes and that kind of stuff, and was so tired until his wife just looked at him and said, because he started sleeping. He would go to work every day, but he started sleeping as soon as he got home, which was something he never did. And he ended up, when he went to the doctor's office, his hemoglobin was 6.4. He ended up finding out he actually had a cancer. He had a tumor and he was losing blood through the GI tract. Had dark stools and everything. But the thing about it is, a lot of you just power through it. Because that's stuff you got to do. You got to work, you got to make money, you got to do this because you got to live. So I understand that. But it gets to a point where your body can't sustain it anymore. And that's usually when you see a person that actually comes to see you. When you talk about anemias. It is never going to be that thing that kind of jumps out at you and says, oh, you have a problem. It's usually a person that's over time telling you, I'm so fatigued, I can't do anything, to the point where they start having more symptoms associated with that. You have some changes that actually start happening in your body, and that's when people actually usually come and see you and try to figure out, hey, something is going on, let's see what. And the simplest thing to do is just get a CBC on a person. Just, bring them in, do a CBC and a chemistry panel. But if you're looking at this person, we talked about iron deficiency anemia here, but there's some general things about anybody who has anemia. You kind of think about why it's happening. The major reason is you have a deficiency of one of the building blocks for it, which you see in iron, which you also see in B12, which you also see in folic acid. They lack one of those things that you actually need to make RBCs. So look at the people who are going to be at risk. So iron deficiency anemia can be children, women of childbearing age, elderly, or people with chronic disease. What do you think you're going to see B12 deficiency most in?
Alcoholics?
Alcoholics are one of those that you see that in. Also with people who actually have had gastric bypass, that also affects them as well. Intrinsic factor is what you need for, and it's something that happens in the gut. So when you have people that have had gastric bypass to lose weight, or people who've had colon resections and a lot of it was taken out, those types of things, those are going to be your people at risk for developing those types of anemias. But alcoholics are a big one, because what do they think about doing all the time? Drinking instead of eating. They can care less. You can tell them that they need nutrition, all that kind of stuff, but every bit of money they have goes to getting alcohol. They may eat in there sometimes, wash down a honey bun with a drink or something like that, but that's what you see. I see him like, when I just said, because this guy, where I always go to the gas station, he's always eating a honey bun and drinking a beer. I'm like, that's that. But the thing about it is, that's what they're doing. He can buy a little Debbie honey bun for 99 cents, but he has to have this Coke 45 all the time. Kind of thing. So it's just sad. But those are the things that you see for people doing that. Okay? Now, the iron deficiency anemia is the only one that's a microcytic anemia. The other two that you're studying about, which are B12 and folate, are macrocytic anemia. So they're large cell anemias that your patient has. And they really have to do with that deficiency of that one particular factor that we need to help us build RBCs. Because even though we talk about those, we also need copper, manganese, all this kind of, a lot of metals are actually helping us to make hemoglobin in the body. Also, your kidneys have to work right, because one of the things that happens, your kidneys produce a hormone called erythropoietin, that when your numbers start to go down, your kidneys go, hey, let me produce this hormone to stimulate your bone marrow to produce more cells. That's part of the reason why we as a country don't blood dope athletes. We send them to Colorado to train. Because one of the things that happens when you're hypoxic, your body will release erythropoietin and help you produce more RBCs. So you're blood doping in a legal way anymore, kind of thing. Or if you've ever been to places where you're going up into the mountains, you notice that even, I don't care how fit you are, you cannot breathe. Okay, all those people that think, yeah, I can go exercise, I'm like, no. Whenever I go to Colorado, I sit down. Because taking a shower makes you short of breath sometimes. I'm like, really? I know I'm fat, but this is ridiculous. The first time I went out there, this is crazy. So it's just, different things happen. So you'll see that we actually do that as a organized kind of thing for people as far as replacing their hemoglobin. But what it does is that hemoglobin actually carries the oxygen molecule. So then you have to think about, what am I going to see? Because when you read the anemias, very much so they're going to sound exactly the same when you're looking at patients. So when you read the H&P of the patient, or you're looking at what signs and symptoms the patient says, they're going to all sound the same. So what signs and symptoms the patients usually complain of when you talk about iron, all types of anemias? What's the patient usually telling you?
Tired.
I heard somebody say fatigue and tired.
I have a question about going up in the mountains. If someone does have decreased iron, they're anemic, iron deficiency, and you send them up there, would that